How can you get your girlfriend to stop being a dead fish in bed? Hi there, men's dating coach HarryWilmington here, founder of IntrovertDatingSuccess.com. And on today's show, I'm going to be answering a question from a guy who's in a situation with his girlfriend where they've been dating for 2 years and the sex is really bad. And despite what he's tried to do to fix that, it's still bad. And he wants to know if he should give her an ultimatum or not and how he can fix that. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/HarryWilmington to be notified of when I post up new videos. All right, so picture this. You're in a relationship with a girl and she's everything in the world that you want her to be. You've been dating for 2 or 3 years and things seem to be going great except for this one little problem, which is that she is horrible in bed. She just lies there like a dead fish. She's not making a lot of sounds. And even though she's the one that's constantly initiating the sex, somehow when it comes to her actually doing her part in the bedroom, you feel slighted. How do you handle that situation? Well, that's what this guy's going through, and we're going to go over that in today's program. Real quick, guys, I've been going on a little health journey for the past couple of months now, and I've gone from 193 pounds to 163 pounds in the span of 2.5 months. And I believe that your health really plays a big part in how well you function in a relationship. So I'm considering right now putting together maybe a free cheat sheet for you guys, or putting together a whole program as well on how to get in better shape for yourself, for the woman that you're with, and to be able to have a fulfilling life both in the dating realm and in your life in general. If that's something that you'd be interested in, I would love to know that. Leave a comment down below about whether you'd like me to put together a free cheat sheet for you guys on how to get your health back on track. All right. Also go to the website for other freebies that I have there, and eBooks and programs, all of which are designed to help you date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into this guy's question. So the title of this guy's post was, how do I tell my girlfriend that I would rather stop having sex altogether rather than put up with her being a dead fish in bed? That is a lot. And he goes, I love my girlfriend and I want to stay with her. However, our sex life is atrocious. When we first had sex, it was bad. She did not have much prior experience though, so I figured she would get the hang of it, but she never did. We have been together for about 2 years now, and through that time, I brought it up in one way or another multiple times, always in the nicest way to not hurt her feelings, but I am tired of it. It's gotten to the point where I actively try to avoid having sex with her, which is difficult as she is over a lot and tries initiating sex very often, usually several times a day. I get no enjoyment out of it and would rather just not have it at this rate. She just doesn't move unless I make her move. It's always the same crap and I hate it. I struggle getting hard these days with just how much I dislike having sex with her. I am at the level where I want to put her in front of an ultimatum. Either she really changes it around and becomes way more active in bed, or we stop having sex. But I can think of no way to put this without shattering her confidence. I mean, she isn't the most confident person to begin with, so me essentially telling her I'd literally rather stop having sex with you because you are just that bad in bed won't help. So, I'm sure this is a situation that some of you guys out there might have faced before where you really do care about the girl, but the sex part is not there. And I don't want you to ever think for a second that that's not important, because more divorces in this country happen as a result of sexual incompatibility or the inability to make the other person feel good about having sex with you than you could possibly imagine. So as much as we like to say, oh, I can handle the sex thing and I'll just get used to whatever, understand that that really can cause some seriously strong friction in a relationship and can be to the detriment of it overall. So this is a situation that you really do want to handle, because if you do not, then you're going to feel resentment. She's going to feel that you're kind of angry, so she's going to start feeling resentment, and it's going to end anyway, okay? Now, one of the solutions might be that it might not work out and you have to find somebody else. And I'll get to that as I go through the course of these various things that you can do. But before you get to that step, there are other steps along the way that you can try to see if this is something that she could end up fixing long term. Because understand, there's a lot of things that go on in a woman's head as it pertains to sex, as it pertains to how she feels about being a sexual being. And I actually went over some of these things in a previous video I did where I talked about this guy who said that his girl got upset with him because she wasn't the best that he ever had. And so in that video, I mentioned that as part of his posting, he said after they had that conversation, as upset as she was about it, the next time they had sex, she was then trying to do things to be better for him sexually. And whether or not those things are working is a different story. But the point is, having that conversation made her want to be better. So one of the important things, one of the first things you can try doing to remedy this situation is to be direct. Because you might be trying to think, well, okay, if I hint things at her, then hopefully she'll get the point, but I don't want to be too direct because it's going to hurt her feelings and kill her confidence. And it's interesting because I had a conversation the other day. She was mentioning how she's a teacher in school and how she's on a board that deals with racial equity and trying to basically get teachers on board with the agenda of like, hey, this is how we treat our more diverse students. And what she said was when they tried to hint to, because she's black and then the people that she's working with are white, she said when she tried to go to her white counterparts and try to hint things to them, that nothing ever got done. And then she said there was one time where she tried talking directly to them about just like, she was basically going to give up and quit the organization. And she was saying like, these are things that we're trying to go through and this is a situation that's happening and these are things that you're not handling, whatever. And she said when she was more direct with them, suddenly they got the point and actually started implementing policies that would be beneficial to some of their more diverse constituents, whether it was the students or the teachers. And so I pointed out like, yeah, when you were more direct, they were able to see how serious this thing actually was to you. And rather than take it personally, they recognize, oh, stuff needs to get done because this person is really putting some importance on these things. So the same is true with something like this, where you cannot hint to a person, especially a woman, you cannot hint to them about things that you want sexually or that aren't working for you. Because if they don't get the hint, you're going to be mad and they're not going to understand it because you're not really telling them outright what you need. So what's interesting is somebody on this board, on this posting board, pointed out an example of something they could say, which was, you know, I love you, but what we're doing in bed isn't working and I'm starting to lose interest because once we start having sex, I do all the work. I need you to take a more active role. If you don't know how, we can work on it together. Now, I don't know if I'd add in the part about saying I'm starting to lose interest because it's kind of like when you say to, if you're married and you say to your spouse, you know, I'm thinking about divorce. That's not a word you bring up unless you're really considering that pathway. But you can say things that indicate that, hey, you know what, this is a really big deal for me and understand that this is really affecting our relationship. And putting it that way is going to really hopefully make her see, oh crap, okay, what do I need to do? What things can I be doing in bed that make things look like, seem more exciting or like that I really do desire you because I do. And she may just not know how to show that off, but that just putting that out there that that's important could be a really big first step in getting what you want. So that's the first thing. The second thing you can do is you can compare it to going on the same date over and over again. You can actually give her this experience, okay? So you could try this. If explaining it doesn't work, then doing the action will. But explain it to her like this. Imagine if she came over to your house and every single time she came to your house, the date idea you had was to sit down on the couch, watch a movie, and eat a pork chop dinner. And then the next time she comes over, you watch that same movie and you eat the same pork chop dinner with the same sides. And then the third time she comes over, guess again, you watch that same movie and you have the same pork chop meal every single time. Now, she might very well like that movie that you guys watch and she might like the pork chop meal. But if she does that every single time and there's no variety in that and there's no spicing it up, and there's no switching the movie up or switching the dinner up or switching the activity up, then over time, it's going to start to look to her like, what? A, you're not really all that interested because you're not trying to impress anymore. And B, you're not putting in effort. And so you can explain that example to a woman and hopefully she'll get it. If she doesn't get it by way of telling it to her, give her that exact experience where she comes over, you watch the same movie, do the same pork chop dinner time and time again. And by the fourth or fifth time, she'll start saying, hey, like, why are we doing the same like dinner all the time and the same pork chop? And you can just be like, oh, well, you seem to like to do stuff in bed the same all the time. And so I figure we're just on a pathway. We're just doing the same stuff all the time, regardless of what the other person wants. So this is all I have to give now. I'm just doing this because it's enough, right? And again, she might think that that's kind of petty, but sometimes people need to really feel the experience that they're putting you through to finally get that this is something that needs to be changed up. That's the second thing. Third thing, sex games. And I think he mentioned he's bringing toys and stuff into it, but I find like specific sex games like board games, card games, oftentimes these games have suggestions of different positions or different fantasies or different actions to do that both of you guys may not have been even realized were things they could do, that in the course of doing those new things, she might find something that she's willing to do or try out. So that might be a pathway that could be considered as well. The fourth thing is birth control. Really look into if you guys are doing it regularly and she's on any kind of birth control. Understand that certain kinds of birth controls have chemicals in them that could tamper a woman's sex life or even tamper her ability to want to do things outside of just lying there. Because she might think, okay, I want to do sex, but I just don't have the wherewithal to want to try to move around because that is a lot of energy exerted. And that could be stemming from the kind of birth control she's taking. So consider looking that up also, because that might be something you might not have looked at, that if you switch it up or she gets off the birth control and you either get a vasectomy or you do condoms more often, you might find that she starts to want to become a more active person simply because she's off those chemicals. The fifth thing is, it's similar to comparing it to other dates and then trying that out. Also, switch positions so she can see what it feels like. So right now, she's the one that's lying there flat on the bed and you're doing all this stuff. So switch it up. Be the one for once where you say, hey, I'm going to try something different, babe. I'm going to be the one to lie flat down and I want you to get on top of me. And then while she's on top of you riding you, you just lie there flat. Don't make any noises. Don't do any pumps. Don't do any thrusts of the pelvis. Just lie there and let her experience that. And ask her afterwards, how did it feel when I was just lying there as you were trying to do things to me? Like, I know hopefully you were getting some pleasure on your end, but looking at me, how did that make you feel about the experience I was having when you were just lying there? And hopefully, if she's able to experience that and feel it, she'll be able to see like, oh yeah, just looking at you where you're not making any expressions, you're not doing whatever, really is kind of like makes the experience be less of a joyful thing for me. And that might be a way that she finally understands what it's like when you're above her looking down at her. She's just like, oh. So hopefully that could be a thing that works. Let's see. So that's number 5. Number 6. Make sure you're fulfilling other areas outside of the bedroom. Now, it sounds like this guy possibly is, but for you guys out there that are wondering why your woman might not be as enthusiastic, part of it could be it goes beyond the bedroom for them. How are you outside of that? Are you speaking to her respectfully? Are you, cleaning the kitchen, doing the dishes, taking the trash out? Are you doing things in the relationship that she needs to feel fully fulfilled by you outside the bedroom? Because if not, that could be translating into how excited she is when she's doing stuff with you in the bedroom. That's the 6th thing. Number 7. When she asks you at the end of sex, how was it for you? Do a slight pause before you answer. Because women, anytime that women hear a slight pause, their first thought is, oh crap, he didn't enjoy the thing I just asked him if he enjoyed. And so that might be able to lead you into a conversation about, well, I mean, I'm glad that you were able to get pleasure, but these are some things that I think could be worked on in order to get me more pleasure. Okay. So and a lot of women will ask you after sex, oh, that was so great for me. Was that good for you? So if she asks that, if she's asking those kind of questions, do that slight little pause so she can be prepared for like, oh crap, what's he about to say? And then tamper with, again, I'm glad you're getting pleasure. I get it sometimes, but honestly, babe, there's a lot more we could be doing. What could we be doing? That's the thing too. When you're having these conversations about sex in the bedroom, ask questions like, what could we be doing? Because for women, it's a communal experience and they don't want to be singled out for the only one that's responsible for this thing not happening. So saying, what could we do means that you want to be part of the process of making this sexual experience better for everyone involved, which by default includes you. The 8th thing you could be doing, be more vocal in bed during sex. And this is the thing where you might need to lead her, especially if, like he said, this woman that he's dealing with is a little bit less experienced than he is. And so there was somebody that had actually commented in the posting on the comment section that said, have you ever given her specific instructions on what to do during sex and let her know that these are the things that make me feel good? The reason I ask is because I lacked self-confidence and my sexual education was non-existent. When I grew up, my knowledge about sex was pretty much, quote, the woman lies underneath the man and your husband will tell you what to do. It made for awkward, frustrating moments until I met someone who was patient and loving enough to try to give me better instructions. So yes, there are plenty of women who grow up in situations where their parents don't have a lot of sexual conversations with them and they're basically told, well, it's your job to please the husband, so he'll tell you what he needs. And so this might be a girl that actually needs you to really verbalize and vocalize more what things you actually need, what positions you need her in, how you want her to moan. Something as simple as telling a woman how you want her to moan, what you want her to sound like, how you want her to talk to you during sex. Like these are things that you think are just normal things that people should just know, and that's common knowledge. And as my mom always said, common knowledge is not always common. The woman you're dating could not know that you need to hear these things and have these things happening in order to enhance your sexual feeling and to feel like she's actually enjoying herself. So that might be a thing where you have to talk a bit more until she gets used to knowing what those things are to say and do to where she can do them on her own. That is the 8th thing. The 9th thing you might want to do is compliment her on all parts of her body. A lot of women are self-conscious about various parts, whether it's the way they like their thighs look, or the way their legs look, or the way their face looks, or the way their boobs are. They might have one boob that's bigger than the other and feel subconscious about that. They might not like the way they look or feel at certain angles. And so you as the guy coming into this sexual situation, you know already that you like most of her body, otherwise you wouldn't be having sex with her, but she needs to actually hear that. She needs to hear, yes, I like the way you sound. I like the way your, vagina looks. I like the way that you look this way when you're in this position. I like holding you this way and feeling these things on you. And those things will help to hopefully boost her confidence to where she'll realize, oh, he doesn't mind me in these positions or making these certain sounds, so that's perfectly fine for me to do these things. So that's number 9, is compliment her on the various parts of her body, even the parts you don't think you need to compliment. Trust me, they need to be complimented. Number 10, encourage her to research what may bring her pleasure. Because this girl is constantly coming to this guy, obviously she's must be liking what he's doing in the bedroom. Otherwise, she wouldn't be trying to initiate it as much. But that doesn't mean that she necessarily knows what are those things that would heighten her to a level where she would want to say things or do things or be more active. So, for example, she might not know that jumping on top of him would really bring him pleasure, but does that bring her pleasure? And so she might need to explore that to be like, oh, this is actually a thing that makes me more excited and makes me want to moan and scream louder. So yeah, let's do more of that. So a woman needs to be involved in her own search for those pleasurable things. And you can help her find those things out and then say, okay, which ones do you like? Which ones don't you like? But she has to be part of that journey. Okay. It's number 10. Number 11, make her feel like the bedroom is a safe space where she won't be judged for anything. And this goes to the fact that a lot of women sometimes get in their head and will feel embarrassed at the thought of doing certain things in front of you or making certain sounds, because women are all about being accepted. And so if she feels that she's going to do an action that's going to result in you looking at her funny or laughing at her or being like, oh my God, what is that? Then she's not going to want to do it. And there was another woman that actually commented down below on this topic. And she said, this situation is very similar to my own. It was very hard for me to perform any sexual stuff with my boyfriend. The reasons mainly were that I had a severe fear of underperforming and making myself look bad or embarrassing myself. Despite wanting to and even initiating it myself at times, I would often freeze up because of that. Could that be a possibility? I would suggest sitting down and navigating the topic carefully, as you mentioned that she has confidence issues too. So yeah, if she has confidence issues, then think about the world of sex and the things people do in the world of sex that could be out of the norm. People lick butts, people put hands in weird places, people sniff armpits, people do a bunch of different stuff that could be seemingly embarrassing, and they might not want to get that out. Which is also the thing too, is that you really want to, you want to make the sexual realm between you and her a safe space. And that also means assuring her that you're not going to talk to other people about what you guys are doing privately in the bedroom. Because I know a lot of women get really subconscious about if I do this thing, is my guy gonna go off and tell his other guys that I did this thing, and that could be very embarrassing. So I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna hold back in the bedroom. So at least if I'm a dead fish, he can't embarrass me later on by telling his friends that I did X, Y, and Z. So you really have to let her know that the bedroom is going to be a safe space for you two exclusively to try and experiment with things that aren't going to leave that room. Okay, so that's my 1 through 11. And then number 12, if you do all that stuff and she's still not willing to try new things or to, work outside of her comfort zone in the bedroom to try to give you pleasure, then number 12 is you may need to dump her. And I say this as a guy who has dated women in the past that were not up to sexual par in terms of wanting to do or try the things that I wanted to do. I dated women that didn't want to go down on me. I dated women that didn't want to wear lingerie. And that really curtailed my feelings for them, because I'm like, I'm being open as I possibly can in this experience. And I'm also coming out saying, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to talk to the other people about you. I'm willing to explore with you things that you could find pleasurable. If you do all that stuff and they're not either willing to or still being uncomfortable, then it is not your job to stay with them to make them feel good. Like, just because it's going to hurt to leave them and you're going to hurt their feelings by dumping them over this issue, I say to you again, a majority of divorces in this country happen in part because things in the sexual realm are not going the right way and the people are not compatible. And hey, she may need somebody who's also a lump of a guy in bed, and it works perfectly fine. But if you know you're not that guy And you're going to want to do stuff that is a bit more exciting, and you're going to want to have a partner that's going to be vocal and bring her own, edge to the bedroom and actually partake in, the various physical activities that can happen in the bedroom in different angles and different positions and stuff like that. Then you need to be honest with yourself and recognize it's not going to work out. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. It's better to find it out now when there's no paperwork involved and no marriage contract than afterwards, where now if you want to break up with the person, you got to go through a legal system and lose half your stuff. And sex is that important. So you got to have these conversations. You got to be bold. You got to be direct. You got to ask for things you want. You got to let her understand how important this is to you. And if that's not a thing that changes the situation, then unfortunately, you might have to take that step. But try to go through the other steps beforehand to see if this is the thing that can be salvaged. You might want to suggest her going to a sex therapist to really see what it is about the whole sex act that she's not allowing herself to be excited. Because I don't think this guy is bad at sex. It sounds like she actually wants it from him. So that is something psychologically that's going on in her that she may need to look at, okay? But consider all that before you dump her. And then if that doesn't get handled the right way, then consider dumping her. That's the best thing that you can do. Now, with all that said, these are conversations that can be very hard for a guy to have. And it starts with being able to have more self-confidence about yourself and also being able to modify your mindset in a way that's going to be able to make you more understanding of why these conversations need to happen. I got a program on the website. It's a free 5-day mini course called Modify Your Mindset. And it helps you really understand how to be a better dater so you can be more bold, more daring, and be able to be the kind of guy that can have these kind of conversations knowing that it's not going to wreck your chances at staying with the girl, but actually enhance them a lot better. You can get that for free at the website, introvertdatingsuccess.com/modify your mindset. So check that out. And definitely, guy, I'm with you. I hear you. I've been there. I've done that. It is not worth staying with somebody long term that's not going to please you sexually. So hopefully you'll be able to use these tips to get that under control. Thank you for watching this episode of the Introvert Dating Success Show. If you found the info in this episode to be helpful, please show your support by clicking on the tip jar tab, the link of which can be found at the website and in the description below. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment on this episode, and catch new episodes every Monday and Thursday right here on YouTube or wherever podcasts can be found. In the meantime, be sure to check out my other episodes so you too can date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.